The Dragon Ball franchise celebrates its 35th anniversary this year, and while other franchises slow down as they get older, Dragon Ball seems to be going harder than ever. Not only is there an endless amount of merch, video games, and anime episodes, but they have now released 20 feature films. The 20th feature film, which just got released not too long ago, is the subject of today's review. Set to feature the fan favorite Broly in his first canonical appearance, the question on many fans' minds is whether the movie is worth watching. Having seen it for myself, allow me to dive in. Set after the events of the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Super, the movie begins with a flashback to the final days of Planet Vegeta, where we are shown how the actions of key figures from the past, such as King Vegeta, Bardock, and Frieza, set in motion the events of present day. While this includes stuff we already know, such as Goku and Vegeta escaping the destruction of their home planet, this also extends to the backstory we receive for Broly. I don't want to get too much into detail so that you can all watch it for yourselves, but let's just say that being exiled by King Vegeta to a desolate planet with his father Paragus does indeed explain their absence in the universe until now. Flash forward to present day, and Broly is now a fighting machine who knows nothing about Frieza's involvement in the destruction of his planet, but does know that he has been taught by his father to see other Saiyans as enemies. While Goku and Vegeta had nothing personal against this new Saiyan, going toe-to-toe with fighters from other universes has left them with the desire to grow even stronger. Therefore, when Broly, instructed by his father and the manipulative Frieza to take Goku and Vegeta down, launches an attack, a huge fight ensues in glorious, over-the-top Dragon Ball style. Now, while that description of the plot may make it sound like there isn't really much going on besides the usual powering up and yelling at each other, trust me when I say that this movie is surprisingly well done, and that it actually goes farther than any other Dragon Ball movie before it to feel like a complete film. For starters, let's start with the story. While other Dragon Ball movies have had a paper-thin plot that usually feels like an afterthought compared to the fights, this film gives us actual story beats. Whether we are getting a more in-depth look at Planet Vegeta, learning about this version of Broly, or meeting new characters, the film actually puts in an effort to make it feel like there are things besides the fights that matter. While I of course won't claim it to be Oscar-worthy or anything, having a full-length story that delivers on stuff like giving us new lore, and even touching upon deeper themes such as self-fulfilling prophecies about what will make a monster, was really refreshing. Speaking of which, something that I found extremely impressive is how they were able to make Broly an interesting, sympathetic character this time around. While in his prior non-canon appearances, Broly is basically a one-dimensional fighting machine whose motives are stupid at best, here though, we get quite a complex, tragic character. While he's still stupid strong and obviously a major threat to Goku and Vegeta, he is also a troubled individual with a heart of gold. As his interactions with Chile and Limo show us, there is a vulnerability to the beast, and though he doesn't actually enjoy fighting, his relationship with his father, who wants to use him for his own vengeance, is kind of hard to watch. I didn't expect to go in and care so much for Broly, but the movie does an excellent job of presenting you with the character that you actually root for by the end, and worry about him surviving or not. That does not mean that the movie's all doom and gloom though, as it also has some great humor and character moments. When it comes to jokes, whether it was Vegeta giving Goku crap for being a huge idiot, Broly acting like an awkward caveman, Bulma wanting the Dragon Balls for an extremely petty wish, or Beerus being put on babysitter duty, there are plenty of great moments that had me laughing when I went to the theater to see the movie. As for the characters, I really loved everyone's place in the story, including the two Frieza Force soldiers, Chile and Limo. Chile's cheeky delinquent attitude and Limo's I'm too old for this mood definitely cemented them as favorites rather quickly. However, shoutouts have got to go to Frieza, who is at his most catty and sassy in this film. At this point, even he seems to know that he's not much of a threat compared to all the bigger fish out there, so seeing him ham it up and just be all manner of comic relief was great. Though I won't say what in order to not spoil the moment, even when he does an extremely evil and screwed up thing, the line delivery and his over-the-top performance is perfection, and honestly one of the highlights of the movie. Finally, while I've covered the humor, story, and even redemption of Broly as a character, it wouldn't be a Dragon Ball review if I didn't cover the fights, and wow. Were the fights, or should I say one huge extended fight, amazing. Well, the first part of the film is all of the background stuff and lore leading up to the confrontation between Goku and Vegeta versus Broly. Once the first punch is thrown, it is basically non-stop action, featuring plenty of powering up to other forms and insane moves new and old. The action is the best that has ever been. And not only do I mean in the sense of characters going at it their hardest, but also in terms of the creative art direction. Like, have you ever seen a first-person point of view sequence in the series before? Well, the movie has this awesome section where we see the fight from Broly's eyes for a while as he just wails on Goku and crashes his way through the inside of a glacier. It is stuff like that, together with the great visuals, voice acting, and over-the-top moves that made the showdown against Broly simply amazing to watch. Of course, as with any other piece of media, nothing is perfect and there are some negatives to discuss. One thing that I would count as a negative is that the use of CGI wasn't always that great. There were some parts where it looked really out of place among the animations, such as when being used for Frieza's ships, or some of the backgrounds during the heavy action sequences. While this isn't a huge problem overall, there are parts where it stands out, and especially to more artistically knowledgeable people. Another negative with the film is that the music wasn't the best. While the series has had some pretty cool music during climatic fights in the past, here the soundtrack was kinda weird, comprised of strange chanting and bizarre instrumentals. While it works fine enough with what is happening, I can still see it turning some people off. Finally, another negative I've seen thrown around is that anyone who hasn't watched Super or the past couple of movies will have no idea what is going on. Well, it makes sense since it is meant to be a film for the fans. I guess I can see how intimidating it might be for anyone who wants to either dive in for the first time, or at the very least, the first time in a while. While this isn't a huge problem, I guess I would suggest that anyone who is interested in watching, do their homework first. Now, all of these minor issues aside though, I thought the Dragon Ball Super Broly was a really fun film, and even as a smaller time fan of the series, I had a blast watching it. While I went in ready to have a good time watching a bunch of Saiyan dudes beat the crap out of each other, I ended up being super impressed with not only the fight scenes, but the story, characters, humor, and transformation of Broly into an actually interesting anti-hero. I greatly enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it. But hey, that's just my opinion. And remember, don't take anything I say too seriously. After all, I'm just the Wannabe Reviewer. Thanks for watching.